Hi, my name's John Cooksey.
And I'm Bob Nagy.
Now, we host a 2-DVD set called the Nikon D300 Made Easy, but today on the internet we're going to show you some free things and some tips and tricks about this fabulous camera.
Well, the first thing is that a lot of the D300s are shooting a little bit hot, a little bit overexposed, and remember that if you feel like yours is doing that, that you can dial it down just a little bit. Let's take a look at the top of the camera, hold in the exposure compensation button, your main command dial, and go ahead and dial it down where you have a negative number, that would be to the right. Bring it down, about 0.7 is fine. Take a look at the histogram again. If your picture's looking good, that's where you want to leave it, and your camera's working perfect.
And do check on the firmware every so often, because you never know if they'll be updating this and changing all different things. Another neat thing about this camera is that it'll automatically take pictures on its own. You can set it up on a tripod at a construction site, or do what I do with my son and do some great little animations, and it will automatically take the pictures at any particular interval you want. Really quickly, to go ahead and do this, if we went to the back of the menu, you want to go to the shooting menu on this. And on the back, I'm at the shooting menu, and I've already gone down to vertical, interval timer shooting, you can see, and you're going to use your controller to go to the on button, and then you can go and say, starting now, I want to do this every 3 seconds and get this kind of imaginative thing. We've done one at 9 seconds and 3 seconds, but you could set it up to go for minutes and hours at a time, and you could set it to go for as many pictures as you want to get this done. So if you were in a weatherproof housing, you can do 24 hours of continuous shooting.
Absolutely. And remember, when you are shooting, that the camera will shoot, of course, in JPEG mode. It also shoots in the NAF file format, which is Nikon's RAW format. The really cool thing on the D300 is it has two distinct modes of RAW compression. One is your normal compression, where it's going to bring the file size down by about 40% or so. It'll vary picture to picture. But also there's a lossless compression, so that brings the picture size, the file size down less, maybe 20 to 40%, but has absolutely no degradation on the picture quality. So you have the judgment of shooting regular JPEG or two different levels of NEF RAW compression.
Now, one thing on this camera that people always wonder about, and let me just show this real quick. Can we get a close-up here? Look, there's your function button down here that you can assign to any particular thing you want. So as you're shooting, you can decide, I want that to be a certain particular function, and that's assignable. But look, there's one here that's not assignable and it doesn't have a name next to it. It's near the little red thumb grip, and you may wonder what that is. And that's your depth of field preview button. And what that'll do is when you're out on a shoot, allow you to see how much of the picture from foreground to background will be in focus. Now, your picture will obviously be in focus if you're focused right, but what about the background? So if you push this button down, it will give you a little click, and what it's going to do, it's allowing you to see the real aperture value and whether the background or the foreground is really going to be in focus. Now, of course, if you don't want to use that button and you want to just do a test print, that's good too, and adjust your f-stop accordingly, because maybe you want the background out of focus, maybe you want the background in focus.
Absolutely. Now remember that function button down there is used in conjunction with a lot of the other controls, like your main and sub command dial, to enable you to do a lot of the settings on the camera. So memorize physically with your hand which of those buttons is which. The upper one, where your index finger is going to be that depth of field preview, and you can hear when the iris is closing down. You won't hear anything when you press the function button. So sort of memorize, because memorize everything on the camera so you can operate this camera in the dark, because you're going to maybe operating where you can't see the
buttons. There's a lot of buttons. And with the depth of field preview, keep in mind that it's normally going to be dimmer. When you hit that button, the picture's going to dim down. That exposure level has nothing to do with how the picture comes out. Pay attention to the background if you want to use it. One other thing I noticed last night, see one of the little shooting control buttons over here? There we go. Now, if you have your hand down here while you're shooting and you're grabbing the camera like this to shoot, which I did yesterday, I accidentally hit that button. So when you grab on this side of the camera where you see D300 down here, you want to have your fingers not too close to that, because you could, with your pinky, move that switch
and change the focus mode.
And you change the focus mode, and you don't want to do that. Bob?
Absolutely. Now, another really key thing, to stay close up on the camera, is that it has, one of the things you do all the time is format the card. Instead of having to go to the menu and down, like you do on other cameras, this has a two-button format. Right over here, the garbage can button, which is sort of logical, and over here, the mode button. If you hold these both down at the same time, it'll allow you to do a quick format of the card. And that's really handy. Remember to do that once you've dumped all your pictures.
And speaking of another shortcut, this is a fabulous shortcut. You see the quality button that has the green button, the green little dot next to it?
Look for the green dots.
And then there's your exposure compensation here and there. You can reset everything on your camera, especially if you're doing that timer shooting that we were just talking about before, and if it's in pause mode and you want to just get it out of there, this will set everything to its factory defaults. Can I do this right now, Bob?
You can do it, yeah.
And then hold this. We don't have anything complicated. So I'm going to hold the quality button down, and I'm going to hold our exposure compensation button down for 2 seconds. I'll watch what happens. Boom, it'll just go, and it'll automatically reset everything to the default values of the camera.
Right, so you really set a lot of custom presets up, and you say, really want to put it back the way it came out of the factory. It'll reset a lot of that stuff for you. And one of the things I also want to mention was the lateral, you'll read about the really custom things that this camera does. One of them is the lateral color aberration correction. And you'll wonder, well, that sounds interesting. What is that? Well, remember, when you're using a very wide-angle lens, you're going to see a little bit of that pincushion barrel effect. That not only, one of the degradations that you'll see on all lenses is that near the edges, it's not as tack sharp as it is in the center. Well, the better the lens is, the better sharpness it will be. But one of the other things that happens in lenses is that the divergence of the different colors in the spectrum becomes more exaggerated as it gets across and away from the center and towards the edges of the lens's curvature as well. So digitally, this camera automatically corrects for that, resulting in, again, stellar pictures.
Well, one other thing, if we can get a close-up too, on the control dial on this side, you're not going to be able to turn this without hitting the button here. A few people have asked me about this. They emailed me and say, I can't turn my little controller there. Keep in mind, as a safety switch, you have that safety switch there to dial. And the nice thing about this camera, even though it seems to have a lot of buttons and controls, in my opinion, as a professional, it's better to have them on the outside of the camera where you can access them easy and push them, whether you want your ISO or whether you want your white balance, than it is to have to fuss through a lot of menus.
Right, and on that dial, when you've got your continuous shooting low and high, remember that the high is fixed at the maximum rate the camera can shoot at, but the low is continuously adjustable inside of your custom function menus. So depending on what you're shooting, you may say, well, I really only want 2 frames a second. So go ahead and set that up inside of your custom menus over there, and depending on what you're shooting.
Now the ISO on this camera, which is your sensitivity for how well you're going to be able to take pictures in low light, is fantastic. I mean, you can go up really high. What do you want to comment on?
Yeah, I want to comment too that remember that under 200 ISO on this camera, it won't just go to 100. It has 3 levels of L, and they have L.3, 0.7, 1, and that means it's sort of 3 gradations or 3 notches underneath the ISO 200. As well, over 3200, it has an H designation in 3 notches, like 0.3, 0.71, and those are 3 steps between 3200 and 6400 ISO. So it gives you a nice fine control to bump it above the maximum and below.
And I got to tell you, the quality on this camera and the image is so good. I just keep mine at 800, which will give me a lot of flexibility with my f-stop and my aperture, and my shutter speed. We don't have a lot of time. We're running out of time on this internet video right here, but make sure you check our DVDs. They're the Nikon D300 Made Easy. They're 90 minutes each. There's 2 of them. We take you step by step through every feature and function in every category that you can imagine about this camera.
Yeah, and I'm going to also mention, as a shooter using all different cameras, this is the best camera I've ever used.
It is a really amazing camera. We're at www.elitevideo.com. You can see demos and also check out our other demos here. Every week or so we're going to be putting up little clips from our D300 Made Easy, a few here and there, and we'll be encouraging you to get the 2 DVD set. It is on the web. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can also email us. My name is John Cooksey.
Bob Nagy.
And we look forward to seeing you on another episode.
Take it easy.